Governorship election in Ekiti State. INEC commences distribution of sensitive election materials to designated locations across the state. Just as appeal court sitting in Abuja orders Federal High Court to stay execution on verdict ordering INEC to deregister 5 political parties. Remain law-abiding APC support group urges young people in the North Central. Meanwhile, National Economic Council has approved disbursement of over 83 billion naira as anticipatory action task force intervention. We have these and more on our lineup, and in the course of the program, we will be joining our correspondents in Ekiti for an update on the preparations for tomorrow's governorship elections. I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi, and this is Political Update. Welcome. Let's start from Abuja. The National Economic Council has approved the disbursement of over 83 billion naira as anticipatory action task force interventions, and the intervention fund is 50% of the proposed 166 billion naira as requested at the council. The council also approved the National Regional Development Policy 2026 to 2030.
Actually, it was the council is requested to approve the disbursement of the sum of 166,422,363,763 naira only. Council approved the sum of 83,211,818,881 naira 50 kobo, being 50% of the proposed budget for the AATF, with a plan to review the framework at subsequent meetings as part of broad measures aimed at tackling flood and related disasters.
Council will definitely make more provisions going forward, but you have to now look at it in the context of the resources available so that you can be able to put in mechanisms in place in a very proactive manner. So that is the essence for which Council decided to reduce it by 50%.
All right, let's go to Ekiti very quickly, because we'll take the INEC report later. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has commenced the distribution of sensitive election materials to designated locations across the state. The exercise is aimed at ensuring the timely deployment of materials and strengthening public confidence in the electoral process.
The tight security and in the presence of representatives of political parties, election observers and the media, the Independent National Electoral Commission officials supervised the distribution of sensitive materials, including ballot papers, result sheets, and other election documents. The State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Bumi Omoshenidemi, said the exercise demonstrated the commitment of the Commission to transparency, accountability, and the conduct of a credible governorship election. He urged voters to conduct themselves responsibly and participate actively in the democratic process.
That all arrangements for the election have reached an advanced stage. Our personnel has been trained, non-sensitive materials has been deployed, and the coordination with security agencies and other critical stakeholders have been strengthened to ensure a peaceful and orderly process.
The Commissioner of Police in charge of Ekiti governorship election, Abayomi Shogunle, assured stakeholders that adequate logistics and security arrangements have been put in place to ensure the smooth movement and protection of election materials throughout the process.
We are putting plans in place to ensure that these materials, they arrive safely at all designated polling units across the state by Saturday morning very early to enable the commencement of voting at the stipulated time at the various polling units.
Political party agents who monitored the distribution expressed satisfaction with the level of openness displayed by the electoral body, while urging the Commission to sustain the same standard during voting and collation.
Okay, but by that report, we know that Ekiti is now ready to vote for its governor. And let me welcome Oluwafemi John Adebayo, Head of Research and Strategy, Kimpact Development Initiative. They monitor the votes and been doing that, across the country in recent time. Femi, thank you. You're joining us from Ado Ekiti. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And my colleague Ayodeji Ogunshakin is on the streets of Ado Ekiti. Ayodeji, I can see you there. Where are you, Ajilosun or Dalimo? Tell us. All right, while we're waiting for Deji to get into the groove, you've been in Ekiti and of course in the Southwest for a while monitoring the vote. Tell us in some of the activities leading up to this, event, talking about tomorrow's, elections, and tell us, are you satisfied with the run-up to this election?
I mean, the conversation of satisfaction, it's going to be about different stakeholders and how they contribute, extensively to the conversation around what we call maybe electoral credibility or integrity of the election. So, but first of all, let's start with INEC. I think INEC, it's very important in this conversation. They are the administrator, they conduct the elections technically. INEC has a lot of activities leading to the elections, and I think as your report also stated earlier, a lot of those preparation has been to advanced stage. I mean, it's already at the advanced stage, and most importantly, is the fact that most of the lined up activities has been done. Just yesterday, I'm very aware that from CBN, sensitive material had moved to all of the racks, which we call the registration area centers. So if you look at that, that is there. Of course, we've also seen a couple of campaigns. That's now on the part of the political parties, though it is not evenly distributed. We're seeing campaign, some from dominant, or let me use the word, highly visible political parties. And we've seen that. Of course, we've also seen how the atmosphere is for the citizens, which are the major stakeholders in these elections. Many are yet to participate in the elections, but most importantly are also the factors around turnout. I mean, to just cap it all is to say that Ekiti elections it's not an election that you will say is going to be characterized, or possibly issues around electoral violence will be the dominant conversation in the elections. No, that's not what's going to happen. Because even pre-elections, you could see that for pre-elections, pre-election violence is not prevalent. I mean, that's the word, which is very important for us to know. And as we move into the election day, we do not foresee, from what the data is saying, tracking for 6 months, that there could be, the violence will characterize the elections. But of course, there are other electoral related pressure. If things are not managed properly, there could be issues. And of course, it still borders around the preparedness of INEC. It borders around conversations around insecurity in the state, most especially the border communities or the border local government state. So for me, these are the issues, and these are some of the things that we need to look at as we go into the elections. Even beyond that,
Let me let my colleague come in so that maybe he can help us to add some perspectives to this discussion. Ayodeji Ogunshakin, you are live there on the streets of Ado Ekiti. Tell us what is happening there, and let's share your experience. Sharing your experience, I beg your pardon.
Yes, people have been eager for this election coming up in the next few hours. When you look at the situation in the city of Ado Ekiti, the state capital, we discover that people are really eager and ready for the election. The atmosphere is calm and cool. Looking at what because we've moved around the town, no any sign of anxiety or insecurity. In terms of preparations, the Independent National Electoral Commission has done everything needful to ensure free, fair, and credible election. When you look at the aspect of security, even as at this morning, the Commissioner of Police in charge of election had a meeting with the press and re-emphasize the readiness of the security personnel to ensure free, fair, and credible election. There has been deployment of security agents to all the nook and cranny of Ekiti State without making sure that there's peace. Of course, when you look at even the Independent National Electoral Commission, they've deployed their electoral officers to the various local governments, including the distribution of sensitive materials, which was held yesterday. Visits to the office of INEC, especially at the local government INEC offices. The election officers, they are there already. While some have been deployed, they have moved to their various towns and where the election will be conducted tomorrow. So generally, the situation is peaceful, calm, and people are eager to elect the candidates of their choice coming up tomorrow.
All right.
And I'm having with me one.
Go ahead, please.
I'm having with him one of the electorate who will be telling me his experience about the general observation, about the preparations concerning tomorrow's election. And of course, as an electorate, he will tell me his preparation too for the election. So can you tell us your general observation about tomorrow's election, and you as an individual, what is your level of preparation?
Thank you very much. As a resident of Ekiti State, I have collected my PVC. The environment is peaceful. The environment is calm. There is no violence. And with what I've moved around and with what I've seen today, I can actually predict what can happen tomorrow, that election is going to be peaceful.
Thank you very much. That's just the key word. There's going to be peaceful election tomorrow, considering the atmosphere we are experiencing in Ekiti State. Thank you very much. That's the situation from me.
All right, thank you. And let me greet you in your language. You say Ekiti Parapo, Ekiti Kete. So we know that it's a family business there. It's not as if we don't expect any violence. After all, everybody is bearing the same name in Ekiti State. Let me come back to Femi, who is actually, incidentally, of course, is right there in Ado Ekiti as well. Ayodeji, I would hopefully maybe in the course of the day we'll still get back to you. Thank you for your intervention on the program. But you heard from Deji Ogunshakin there, also speaking to somebody who is getting ready, of course, who's gotten his PVC and all that. In terms of the size, it's not a very big state, so monitoring shouldn't be a difficult thing, especially for you and your colleagues.
Right. When it comes to the size of the state, and I think one thing to also note is that when you talk about maybe the land mass, yes, Ekiti State in terms of land mass may not be that very big state, but as of the estimated population, Ekiti also is somewhere around between 4 million to 5 million. So that's a lot of individuals in the state. And one of the major landmark for these elections is that Ekiti has also crossed the 1 million mark when it comes to registered voter in the state. So these are some of the things to note. But again, like I said earlier, all of the predictions, even from other civil society and conversations I've had with major stakeholders, everybody is actually saying that the elections are going to be peaceful. Data also didn't see otherwise, right? But what is very, very key is for us to understand that there are other pressures that are beneath that piece we're talking about. And one of those pressure, like I also spoke about, is the insecurity. And I think that is very key to actually spotlight that Ekiti elections is not going to happen in silos. It's going to happen within an environment. And there is a level of insecurity in some axes of the state. And I use, for instance, major local governments as an example, where kidnappings are happening. Again, because Ekiti has this culture around migrating to the rural local government. If I'm working in Ado Ekiti as the state capital, I'm tempted. Maybe my registration as a voter is in my local government. Where's my village home or my hometown, as we popularly put it in Ekiti State? And because, for instance, people that are registered in a major local government, and they are possibly working maybe in the urban local government like Ado Ekiti. I've had conversation with stakeholders, and some are saying they're not going to return home because they don't know when the next kidnap is going to happen, right? Maybe that is going to happen around this period. So again, that is speaking to us what I can actually call, a kind of voter turnout, which we think that it may also impact voter turnout. I think that's what that is. The second thing again is, of course, INEC has assured people around their readiness and preparedness. I mean, I also heard the rec yesterday talking about this, assuring the Ekiti people they've mapped out terrains, hilly areas that are hard to reach, and all of those. But again, I've seen situation in Anambra elections in 2021 because of insecurity. Ad hoc staff are actually retreating to say they are not going to go to fulfill that duty. After they've been trained, they've been mobilized, but they declined because of insecurity. You know, I've been mentioning Ilejemeje local government. What about Moba local government? Ilejemeje borders Kogi, Moba borders Kwara. So if you look at all of those, these are some of the challenges. Even up to a local government like Ikole local government, there are still, you know, some level of insecurity also happening in those particular local government. So these are some of the things. Again, like I also mentioned earlier.
I think you've made your point,
like
and we had a discussion.
Earlier,
we had a discussion with the CP in charge of the elections, and they are really, they said they are aware of some of the challenges, and I think those some of those corridors, especially the ones bordering Kogi, Kwara, and in the areas you're talking about from Umu down to the Ilejemeje, down to even getting to Oye, to Iyamoye, moving into Iyamoye is in Kogi State, but of course they are all cousins around that axis. They are aware of some of these issues that you have raised. So thank you so much for your intervention. This is your first salvo. I hope you know that you are going to be cutting in to give us some information from the field in the course of all these activities. That is what we're doing for you, KDI, Kimpact. So you should do that for us in terms of generating some content based on numbers for us from the field. So we've been speaking with Femi Adebayo. Femi John Adebayo is the head of research and strategy, Kimpact Development Initiative. They are watching the vote. They are looking at other aspects of it. And of course, at the end of it, I'm sure you also come out with a paper that will help the electoral process, knowing fully well that this is just one of many. We have Osun State in a couple of months, and of course the big one in the beginning of 2027. Thank you very much, Femi Adebayo, joining us live from Ekiti.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So let's move on now. The National Youth Wing of the Opposition African Democratic Congress, in conjunction with civil society organizations, leaders in the party, have written a formal petition against Justice Peter Lifu, demanding his removal from any or all adjudicatory matters, reviews, or decision-making rules concerning the ADC. The petition, dated the 18th of June 2026, was addressed to the Executive Secretary, National Judicial Council, and signed by ADC's National Youth Leader, Balarabe Rufai. Reading the content of the petition to the media at the ADC National Secretariat, the leadership alleged that all efforts to submit the petition at the NJC office failed. Therefore, they need to present the petition to the public. Right, we couldn't quite get, but of course we have the content of that report. Moving on, the Social Democratic Party, SDP, has acknowledged that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has implemented the ruling of the Supreme Court by uploading the name of Professor Abubakar Sadid Umar Gombe on its official portal to replace Shehu Musa Gabam. The statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Arabarufos Ayenigba, indicates that the name of the former national chairman of the party, who was expelled, was wrongly restored by the commission on account of the earlier judgment of the Court of Appeal. The statement says INEC removed the name of the former chairman and other expelled members on Wednesday, the 17th of June, 2026. This, the statement says, lays to rest what it describes as externally induced leadership crisis, as the party now stands on a strong pedestal of sustainable stability to be strongly positioned for the 2027 general election. Now, the Tinubu Support Group, TSG, has encouraged young people across the North Central to remain law-abiding, productive, and actively involved in nation building. The Director General of the group, Dr. Umar Tanko Yakasai, stated this in Abuja while inaugurating the National Executive Council of the Alliance of North Central Youth into its fold. Convener and National Coordinator of the Alliance, Joshua Ochojegwe, reaffirmed the unwavering support of the Alliance of North Central Youth for the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Partnership, we believe in working together. All of us are working for the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I believe that one person cannot do it alone.
Members of the alliance lauded the Tinubu administration for appointing sons and daughters of the North Central Zone into positions of authority, assuring that they would continue to justify the confidence reposed in them. And that is a political update for today. It is a weekend of elections, by-elections in different centers across the country, Ondo, Rivers, and of course the main one, which is the Ekiti governorship election, will be this weekend, and NTA will be there to give you every minute as the people of Ekiti decide who will stay in government house, whether the one there now will retain his tenancy or there will be a new one there. After all, the people are the landlords. Between now and when we start our live studio, which is at 4:30 today, to when the votes will be concluded, keep it logged on the Nigerian Television Authority for news, reviews, previews, and interviews, and do play your politics for the greater good. Bye-bye now.